Good morning. Thank you for joining me in the second video on the channel. As I said last week, I wanted to get a short video together before we get the big 48 hours of action at Auteuil this weekend. Got fantastic grade ones on both Saturday and Sunday, really competitive cards. I wanted to go through a couple of angles that I think are worth looking at. For those of you who watched last week's video, you'll have seen me highlight Romanello. I'm still sticking with him. He finished third at 11-2 at La Crosse-la-Roche earlier in the week. Yet again, he was given a ride where he wasn't put in the race. We haven't seen Cambaceres yet. So that's the update from last week. As ever, if you like this French content, anything you want me to cover, anything you'd like me to talk about, feel free to drop me a line on Twitter or X as it is now, or drop something in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that. First thing I wanted to say about Auteuil this weekend, really before we get into any nitty-gritty details, is that this rain has had a serious effect on the ground everywhere, but particularly at Auteuil. Last week's meeting, the penetrometer reading was 4.8 to 5. The ground was heavy. The jockeys chose in most of the races, particularly the hurdle races, to go right the way around the outside. It was absolutely bottomless. And if you've read my blog, seen a few things I posted on Twitter, as you'll probably know, I don't bet on really heavy ground. It's just a policy I've had for a few years since I tried it. I think sometimes a lot of these races can develop more into survival of the fittest, and particularly when you got form from September when the ground was bordering on good to soft. It's completely different now. So I don't think I'll be having a bet this weekend, but that doesn't mean I won't enjoy the action. I think it's fantastic. Just wanted to share my screen with you, take you through a couple of the angles and a couple of the races that I think are really important to get stuck into this weekend. And we'll start just with a little bit of figures. As I said last week, I'm a massive advocate of the France Galop site. The BHA could learn so much from what you can do with France Galop. If you haven't got an account for them, set it up. It's completely free. You've got the replays, data, form, entries, everything's on there. This is one area that I really like to look at, which is just the trainer's form. But in particular, you can really drill down into the trainer form to see, right, how are they doing this year? Looking at specific tracks, specific disciplines. This is the trainer's page. And to find this, the easiest way is to go to Hans and Cheveux, select entrainers, and that will bring up exactly what you've got. Now, this is fascinating to me. And I'll just show you that link there. There we go, trainers, and that'll bring it up. So this is the record of all the trainers, and I've ranked these based on the prize money they've earned this year at Auteuil itself. So just at the Paris track. And as you can see, top of the list, we've got Francois Nicole. Not surprisingly, he's got some superstar horses in his yard. But he has had 182 runners at Auteuil this year, 30 winners, so around a 1 in 6. But within that, we've also got 108 horses placed. Now, placing is slightly different. This isn't a betting term on France Galop. So it's not an each way 1-2 or 1-2-3. This is horses that hit the first 4. So you've got 138 out of these 182 runners have hit the frame. He's been in form pretty much all season. Very impressive figures from him. But underneath that, you've also got another couple of trainers to look out for this weekend that we'll come to. Arnaud Chéchet, he's had 101 runners, 20 winners, so 1 in 5, 54 places, so 74 of his 101 have hit the frame. And the other that I think is really important to mention, maybe not yet, but we're getting there every season. Noel George and Amanda Zetterholm. Noel George is Tom George's son. They set up a satellite yard in France. They've been doing really well, especially with their 3- and 4-year-olds. This year at Auteuil, 74 runners so far, 15 winners, 39 places. That's 54 out of 74. Which is superb. And then one other thing just to bear in mind when you're looking for trainers who really know how to do well at Auteuil, if we look at this just as the chases, I wanted to mention Emmanuel Cléo, 39 runners over fences at Auteuil, 6 winners, 24 places. That's 30 of his 39 runners who finished in the first 4 over fences, which is a remarkable achievement for a yard who are really taking on the big boys. You can scroll down, you can go through all of the figures, you've got all the major yards that are on there. So we start on Saturday with the first of the grade ones, which is the Grand Prix d'Automne. This is a 3-mile grade 1 hurdle for the older horses. The race really has been dominated in recent years by a horse called Galop Marine, who's sadly no longer with us. He won 4 renewals in a row. But last year's renewal, when Galop Marine wasn't around, was won by the great Thelem. I am probably in a majority of one when I say he is the best hurdler in Europe. I think if he met Constitution Hill over a 2-mile 3-furlong trip, he'd beat him. Now, you may have your own opinion on that, and I'm sure one of the two of you may want to put in the comments that I'm wrong, but I'm absolutely in love with this horse. He's absolutely fantastic. He won the French champion hurdle in in May. He and Hermes Bay pulled miles clear of the likes of Classical Dream and Flooring Porter and all the rest. No Hermes Bay at the moment. This race is absolutely at the mercy of Thelem. Now, I've seen lots of people mention Thelem as a stayers hurdle prospect for Cheltenham. How dare anyone put any comment or any content out about horse racing without mentioning Cheltenham? So I get my bit in. I think it was actually Tom Segal and Paul Keeley on the Racing Post Big Jump Off show mentioned that Thelem, the plan apparently is to run in the stayers hurdle in March. I haven't heard anything along those lines, and I think it's something to consider if you are going to back him anti-post, that the connections do have a decision to make, because if you're going to get the horse ready to peak to run in the stayers hurdle in March, they are probably sacrificing the French champion hurdle in May. The French program leans itself to peaking in May and November. So if you're going to switch plans and go to Cheltenham in March, that is requiring quite a big commitment. Now, they may do that. He's got English owners, so we'd have to see. But just hold fire on that bet before there is actual confirmation that Cheltenham is the plan. But if he does run in the stayers hurdle, I'll back him, because I think he's miles better. In fact, he's already proven he's miles better than the stayers hurdle. Anyway, this race goes off on Saturday afternoon. He's so far clear of these, I really don't see any reason why he won't win. I did a bit of a paper tissue for what it's worth. I made him about a 4-9 shot. I don't really want to have a bet. I'm quite happy just to watch him. If there is a horse to follow him home, it's probably in Anjou. She's quite famous. She's a really lovely horse. She's got a really enthusiastic set of connections. You've probably seen the video that went viral of them singing songs of support when she ran in the Grade 1 4-year-old behind Ile-et-Francais last season. She's really consistent. I think at the weight, she's got a great chance of finishing second, but she won't beat Thelem, and I really don't want to have a bet in that. And then we move on to Sunday. Sunday's racing revolves around the Prixdelahorse, which is the big Grade 1 chase. I really don't have an angle into that, and on heavy ground, again, it's another race I'm going to watch. But if there is a race to watch, it's the Grade 1 Prix Cambaceres. This is for the 3-year-olds, won last year by St. Donat's. This is really the peak of the season. And this year, at this stage, we've got 7 runners. Now, top of the list is obviously Jigme. He's off to stud after this. This looks to be his last run on a race course. He's been fantastic this season. I've probably answered more questions about Jigme than any other horse this summer, because they installed him as the Triumph Hurdle favourite. But he hasn't left France, and I don't think he's likely to run in the Triumph Hurdle. I think this is probably it. He did get beat in September. When he jumped to his left, he just didn't look quite right. But when the ground softened up, he dominated and won last time. He is the best horse in this race on form. I just wonder whether the heavy ground and the smaller field will suit him. Now, in a year's time, the horse that I think you'll want to be with is Kingland. He's a brother to Figaro, Francois Nicole's great chaser. He made a really impressive winning debut. They pitched him straight into graded company last time. He ran a really credit behind Jigme. I think this is probably going to come too soon for him, but I think he really likes the heavy ground. In a year's time, I expect him to be running in the Grade 1 4-year-old chase on this card, and I think he's definitely the horse to follow. Leon de Burley's had enough chances behind Jigme. He's always staying on at the finish, but I don't think he's going to win. But I think there is an upset likely here. Jigme is probably going to be a shade of odds on as the favourite, but the horse who's beaten him before is Master Doc for Noel George and Amanda Zetterholm. So we'll come full circle. Who I mentioned before, I really, really like this horse. It didn't quite look the finished article when they ran him back in the spring, but he came back in September. He stayed on really well. He's a son of Dr. Dino. There's loads to like about this horse. And I just think Jigme is going to set the race up for him. As good as Jigme is, and he's fantastic, and I'm really glad he's going off to stud. He'll be a fascinating side to follow in the future. I think I know where Jigme is, and I think there's more improvement to come from Master Doc. I think he's going to sit 2 or 3 lengths off the pace, and then he'll pounce at the second last and go away. We shall see, but either way, you've got 7 runners in this race at the moment, and you could make a case for all of them. Absolutely fantastic Grade 1 race, really competitive. And who knows, one or more of these may end up in the UK and Ireland next season, and it's definitely going to work out as a race to follow. That's my short and sharp preview for the racing at Auteuil. As I said, keep an eye on the ground. I'll try and put some posts out on Twitter so we've got an idea as to what the ground's like. But the times from last week would suggest it's very heavy already. And as you can probably hear from the rain on my conservatory, there's more rain falling, about 100 miles from Paris here on the Kent coast. So it's likely that there's going to be more rain coming down. Be very careful with your bets. But if you are looking for Grade 1 jumps action, you could do a lot worse than this weekend. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll hope you get another video out in the near future.